Out of interest, how many of you young people think that our government is doing a good or even an acceptable job, even if not a good job? How many of you think this government is doing a good job in trying to give you opportunities to flourish as young people? Wow. Okay. If you have your hand up, can someone get the mic there? Because I want us now to spend a couple of minutes on the next topic that I'd like us to talk about in detail. Someone asked earlier about political youth formations and what we feel about them. How do you feel about, I know you probably have a thought in mind already, yes. But I want us to, you're going to have to think on your feet. I want us to talk a little bit about politics. How do you guys feel about party politics and about the government?
Okay, good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge our school, Daleview Secondary High.
Welcome.
Right, yes. Come on, people.
Clap.
Yes. And to correct it, it's our principal is Dr. Campbell, right? Okay, now referring to your question, in some regard, the government are doing a good job because you get some people who exactly know how to do their job, but then you get some people who are corrupt, who want to feed themselves. So in that regard, we cannot blame the government. Government is a group of people, you understand? So referring with politics, I don't know too much about politics, but what I can say, if one person is doing a good job, we must acknowledge them. Not, for an example, if a few of them are doing bad, now we're saying the whole government is corrupt. In that regard, government is not corrupt. It's just the people. Sometimes they are given a job description and then are not briefly explained as to how it's supposed to be done. Because you get some people, like one of the speakers said, some people, like for an example, you're given a job, but then you're not briefly explained your whole description of your job. They just say, okay, do this and you expect that, you understand? So I think some lack of information in that regard. And the other thing with bursaries or whatever thing, it's you as an individual, if you are hungry for it, you'll get it. You understand? So for an example, stop the excuses, stop the blaming. Because I must say, I matriculated 2012 and it was difficult my first year. I was promised that I was going to go into the construction, right? And then I was forced now to go into teaching and then I was given that opportunity. You understand? So I didn't make, for an example, that what I pointed was going to block me for what am I doing. Like in a moment, I'm doing teaching, but I'm still interested in the construction side. So I'm not limiting myself. I'm also doing part-time studying. I went to these bursaries here in Dagnall Street, JC building. I went there. The thing is for people. You must constantly surround yourself with positive people. Stop being negative and saying this and that. For an example, this event here, let's stop criticizing each other. Let's take what we learn out of this conference and move people, you understand? Like for an example, I got offended when you say educators. No, you don't blame educators. We are there on time, number one. We go the extra mile after classes, that sort of thing. No. You see, that's the thing. For an example, one person is doing a good job now, or a few rotten potatoes is doing bad. Now, you giving that a name, you understand? So let's change our mindset. Please, as South Africans, let's learn, like for an example, let's learn about each other. Let's stop criticizing and being negative, you understand? We see a problem, let's provide a solution, not all the time hammering this and that and that. You understand? So, thank you very much.
Should you go first? Okay. Sorry, I just want to respond to what you were saying, and I really completely agree with that. I'm actually studying via bursary currently right now. The best way I like to speak is from personal experience, so you guys can relate to it more, because I'm actually doing my first year, and I'm sure my friends would vouch for me and agree with me. And I think a girl was saying it on that side. You know, it's hard when your parents don't agree or disagree, or when they don't agree with the dream or what you want to study or what you want to become. Because I went to an art school, and I was fortunate enough to have a mother that supported my dream. But I met lots of people that especially getting their parents to support them when they say, I want to become an actor or a singer or whatnot. The parents were like, everybody wants to do that. Rather go into this field or do that or do this, right? It's really up to you to make that, to make your dreams come true and make it a possibility. Because before I did matric, I was raised by a single mom and my mother passed away. So I'm like, you know what? I can't blame anybody I can either be sad or, just dwell in my sadness, or I can do something with my life and make something of myself. And that's why it's up to you to actually push and, make your dreams come true. You can't rely on anyone else, but you also can't blame anybody else. And, I think it's also this individualist mindset that we have, and I study film, and we are taught that you can only do things working in a team. And that's not just with regards to film, literally in life. You cannot make it, even if you have the biggest dream, you cannot make it like anything in the world. I can swear, you cannot make it alone. So that's why you just need to put in effort, and when you actually focus on others more than yourself, I can guarantee that you can achieve anything you want. You just have to really put your heart and your mind in it and believe that you can do it, and you can. Because after my mom passed away, I was like, you know what? I want to study this and I want to do this. And I didn't like subjects at school. And my friends are here and they can agree. So at home, I taught myself how to do things. I couldn't just rely and, it's not the fact that you mustn't if you don't like maths, don't study maths. No, take everything that you can. Of course, what you love doing, focus on that and do that. And I taught myself, certain things and what I want to do and what I'm studying now. I applied for bursary companies, I think 5, and only 1 got back to me. But the one that got back to me is the one that gave me the bursary. So it's about really just putting yourself in there and not just letting, anybody else or your situation get the better of you. We can always make excuses and there's always things to complain about, especially something like money. I've been in a position, and I know I'm young, I've been in a position where I've not had money and I've had money. And to be honest, nothing really changed. The only thing that really changed was my mindset. That's the only thing that determines really not just your happiness, but how your life goes and what you become.
Thank you. We are going to run out of time, guys, eventually. You're not hungry yet? No. Great. Also, all of you are lobbying me I'm seeing 5 people lobbying on other people's behalf, so this is going to be fairly undemocratic. I know, sir, that you are standing, but this young woman in front has been patient with me for at least 30 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Varam Kulu from Hector Peterson Book Club. I'm just going to use the platform to just get through all the questions and comments. I'd like to disagree with you with one of the comments or statements you made about there's a notion that you are the company that you keep. I disagree with that. I disagree with that because I think the reason we are labeled the lost generation is because we always tagging along. I think it's important as the youth to start applying a sense of independent thought pattern. We need to start being independent. In that sense, we'll be able to also look at some of the factors that you said and make sure that we do not fall into traps of being influenced by the American style of living, by being influenced by all the things that we're not supposed to be influenced by. And then second of all, I want to comment on what you had said about education. Education is good, education is blah, blah, blah. But I think it's also important with regards to the government to realize that you do not expect me to get 70 or 80% at matric level when you did not teach me reading from grade 3. It's important for teachers to do their job from grade R and make sure that I can read, I can write my name, I can spell, so that I am able to achieve that 80% to get that bursary. Like you said that there are bursaries that are doing almost enough, but they can never be enough for everybody. So teachers need to start at primary level to ensure that at 80% I am guaranteed that 90% and I can actually get to Wits and go study there. And lastly, a friend of mine asked me to get this through, that why are we talking about reconciliation and how do we expect to move forward if there aren't any white people in these platforms? This is the second or third event that I'm attending this week that has to do with youth, that has to do with the government. But there's always one, if none, if there's no white people. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Tseho and I'm from the University of Cape Town, but I'm also a member of Fees Must Fall and the SRC. So I have quite a lot of insight on like a few of the themes that are coming up. And I'd like to just say, just fundamentally, everyone keeps on speaking about choice, like you have a choice on how like your life will turn out, which is true. But it needs to be acknowledged that especially in South Africa, there are a lot of disparities. So I can, or let's just say, just on what you said about university and working towards it, you guys need to recognize that universities cost about 50 to 100,000 Rand a year, okay? And that's not accessible to everyone. Like, I don't know if people are able to work for 15 Rand an hour and go to school and get 300,000 Rand so that they're able to pay for university. So this is the thing, like, there are disparities, even applying for bursaries, because everyone keeps on speaking about choice, like, you have a choice, you can apply for bursaries, you can do this and this and this. But the matter of the fact is, people want to apply for bursaries, people want to go to university, but access to the internet to apply for these bursaries, access to, like, are you in a school that allows for you to have internet access, etc., etc. So someone's upbringing, someone's like situation in life really does impact how they are able to get to university, etc. So I think that it's very important to recognize that choice is a factor, but it really isn't like everything. People's circumstances in life is very important. And also, just on the point of government playing a role in giving bursaries, you guys, I don't know how, okay, well, whatever, but the National Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, that's something that's come under a lot of questioning, and that's something that's very important, because a student comes from, let's say you live in a shack, or you live in a really like bad situation, and you get to matric, and let's say you're the first person in your family to get to matric, right? And now you want to go to university, you're unable to receive a bursary. The National Financial Aid Scheme is very important, and that's why fees must fall is very important as well, because it's saying that there are a lot of people who cannot afford university even though they get there. So they get there from their background. Their parents cannot pay 300,000 Rand for their degree. So there needs to be funds available for them to go to university. So this is where government is very important. And this is what fees must fall is saying. Like, there should be no fees. NSFAS is doing a good job right now for access, but these funds need to be expanded in a way that there should be no fees for people who get to the level. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
As it has been stated that the youth are incapable of being decisive, what steps do we need to take in order for us to have a different mindset? And the second one would be to the third speaker who spoke, would you take away certain freedoms or rights that you believe account for the poor marks attained by students, and if there are any, what are they?
Good afternoon all. My name is Sibonelo Ndaba, and I'm from Fred Norman Secondary School. So I just have two questions for everyone in this room. First question is, just explain to us what fees must fall really is. And my second question is, do you think that focusing more on one race will take us further or back? And for example, universities offering certain number of race into entrance. And does empowering more black or white people disadvantage others, because not everyone was advantaged in the past? Thank you.
I would just say that we need to take it more serious. We need to know about the responsibilities as well. We shouldn't only know about the right, but we should know about the responsibility as well. With every right comes a responsibility. You cannot want to take away one right when you don't know the responsibility. That's all.
To add up to what she said about freedom, by saying that maybe we have too much freedom, let's look into teenage pregnancy. All right, it's something that happened. It's happening. It has happened, and it's still happening, and it's done by the born frees, of course, because exactly because in my class I can say I can say that in my class we only have 7 pregnant teenagers in my class, of course. So it is a fact. Look.
Hold on, guys. Order, please.
All right. It is a
Okay,
fact.
just 5 more minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up. Conti, just before you continue, you said only 7. Is that an achievement?
No, it's not. Okay, maybe I put it wrong. Okay, 7 teenagers are pregnant in my class, and that's something that's disturbing, especially to the teachers, because we find it impossible to learn in class, because I know that traditionally, when you are next to a pregnant female, you sleep. Yes. And I believe that the government is spoiling the wrong people by giving those teenagers who are pregnant grant for the year. Instead of doing that, they should be maybe supporting those organizations who are willing to help those who want to go to tertiary levels, I believe.
Hello. I just wanted to respond to the gentleman who was talking about being indecisive. I think the best solution to being indecisive and not knowing where to go is to actually, talk about it. And, when you face a problem and you give it attention, at least then you can find a solution. I don't want to be insensitive to anybody's situation just because I've been privileged in some factors where other people may have, and I'm not privileged there. I think, giving, like the same way we're doing it right now by talking to one another and giving certain, arguments and issues attention, it helps each and every one of us think and find solutions to it. Like, I went through my whole schooling career and I've never had any pregnant woman, in my class. Just one example. But at least it opens our minds and makes us, I really do believe we all live in in our own bubbles. Sometimes you forget that this is actually going on or this is happening out there in the world. So it really helps, us find ourselves and determine ourselves when we actually speak and talk about stuff like this. Sometimes it is hard because, especially, I feel it's hard talking to adults about certain things like this because, they've gone through something that's different that I can't relate to. And I'm sure maybe the adults would agree talking to youth is hard because sometimes we don't listen. It's just that gap where we can't relate to one another. But at least when we come and we talk about it and we give certain things attention, it's not to say us on the panel are more experienced and are right. No, definitely not. But it helps when we at least talk about things. So it helps us move forward and it opens our minds and we remember that the world is actually bigger than us.
Thank you. Honsi, why do you blame pregnant women for your sleeping pills that you are taking? I've never heard of falling asleep next to a pregnant woman. But also we have this weird idea that teenage girls who fall pregnant through immaculate conception, that boys and men are not part of the story. Pregnancy just arrives at school, which is very bizarre. So the pregnancy discussion is a very complicated one because I think it takes us into all sorts of bigger social issues that lie in the background there. We are running out of time, so this is going to be, I'm just going to take 3 more inputs from the floor, and then I'm going to make some concluding remarks. Okay. If you have already made a contribution, then I'm not going to hear from you again. This is such a beautiful space that no one will have a chance to speak twice. If you have, you are lucky. Okay, so hard lobbying over here. We'll take 1 over there. Then I'll come to you. And then I'll come to the back.
We've raised so many so many issues and so many things that are very important. But also I feel one area that is very, very much neglected is education in the arts and the role of the arts in our society and in our country. And you know, we spoke about how you know, when you come from a very poor background, how it's very difficult for you to get what you need in life. And you know, I have a story to tell. You know, there's a boy who is dancing with a company that will be performing today here, the Vuyane Dance Company. He comes from a very poor background. He's from Etwatwa. He studied at the Eastern School of the Arts. You know, when he finished his grade 12, he went straight into the company and worked with the company. So what I'm saying is that when we speak about the importance of education, can we not forget about education in the arts as well? Because this is what makes our country. This is what makes us who we are. You know, so that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you.
My name is Zanele Damani. I'm from Queen's High School. And I'd just like to first say I'm actually honored to hear everything that I've heard today and to be able to contribute on something that's actually important and not something that's just irrelevant. Today is Youth Day, June 16th, and I think that we need to acknowledge the fact that many children, well, school children, school learners such as ourselves that are seated here today, fought for something very important, and they stood up together and they united together. And we are now the youth of them. We're their children. Our parents have fought for us, and I think that we think, well, we are told, people expect us to, you know, feel what they felt. But I'm speaking for myself now, I've never had to fight as much as they've fought in their lives. So I appreciate my education because it's what I've been able to do for myself. I've gotten to grade 11 with the aid of my teachers who have been good teachers. Also on that thing, I just wanted to say that if in grade 1, if you are given a teacher who is not going to be willing and be charismatic and be encouraging and help you to read, how are you going to be expected to read at matric? I mean, it's befuddling to me because I think that there are good teachers out there and there are some teachers out there that don't really care. And when you are put in that situation with the person who doesn't really care, I agree, you should do something for yourself, you should be self-independent, but how can you expect a grade 1 who has never been taught to read now? They must now do this on their own. No, I don't think so. We as the youth of today, we have to literally, I don't know how to put this in the right way, but we can't expect what happened back then to happen now as well. What happened back then was happening at the time. Now we're at a new time. We're facing new problems. We're facing new challenges that we have to overcome. So I agree with looking at the past as being, wow, this is amazing what they were able to do, but now what have we been able to do for ourselves? I mean, personally, I love books. I'm an avid reader. I love reading. And I'm always reading not just only books, but also the news reports, newspapers. And I've seen amazing youth people from different countries who've been able to do amazing things. But I'm not really seeing a lot of South Africans that are standing up and that are being like, okay, you know what, this needs to change, or we need to do something about that. And I think that that's something that we have to do. We've been given opportunities that our sisters and brothers in the past didn't have. And now we have the chance. We have the chance to stand up here. I mean, I can only imagine what my grandmother would want to say if she had the opportunity to stand in front of all of us young minds that can be molded, that can be shown new and great ways, what she would love to say to us. And the fact that we are going to talk about things like how new culture is affecting us, how music is affecting us and everything, I just feel that it's not about what's outside. Yes, the outside affects us. The clothes that we wear, the music we listen to, I myself am not excluded to that. I love, hip-hop and everything like that. I'm a trend, I follow the trends. But that doesn't mean that I cannot also go stand up to my neighbor who's having trouble, who can't read, a child that, because a lot of children in my community are having problems with reading, they can't read. That doesn't mean that I can't get up myself and go help them. To be a leader, you don't have to help 650 people. You can help one person, and that person can have a change in their life. You sitting down and saying, you know what, I can't do it because I'm alone, is just irrelevant. It starts with one person. One person meets another person, and that's how things form. Us just sitting here and waiting, we're waiting for something. You can't wait for that person to come and say, okay, guys, let's do this. You have to stand up and say, okay, let me be the person who starts and says everybody should do something to change the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to draw the forum to a close. First and foremost, can we put our hands together and thank our panelists? Secondly, can we also clap, please, for Wadey and her team at the Apartheid Museum for having created this space. And then please be self-indulgent and clap for yourselves for your amazing engagement. Wadey said at the beginning, she doesn't like saying the kind of things that I've done because it becomes a little bit awkward when people read out your CVs, especially if you've written them for them. So she's absolutely right. But in this context, I do want to say, just in a minute or two, a little bit more about myself. So I've got many different jobs that I do, and that's because I've got a short attention span. So I'm a political analyst, I'm a public speaker, I'm a public speaking coach, I'm an author, I've written and published 3 books, and I'm a broadcaster. I've done some TV and radio, and I'm going to be doing that again in the next month, which I look forward to doing. And I have achieved a lot of things in my still young life, including the World Masters Debate Championship, the national championship that I've won. I've got all my degrees with distinction from Rhodes University, all 3 of them. I didn't complete my doctorate, but I still wouldn't say silly things like Dr. Campbell, like the state doesn't owe you anything. But I did study at Oxford University, and I studied at Oxford University, and I lived abroad for a while, and also lectured in philosophy at colleges around Oxford, high schools where you can take philosophy, and at university. So by training, I'm a moral philosopher, and I was there on arguably the top scholarship in the world, the International Rhodes Scholarship. Now, my background is the same as most of you in this room, and probably even worse. And like Shenia was saying, and it really resonated with me, particularly when she was talking about not letting your background define you. And it's very hard because I think, firstly, one should be humble. Luck plays a role in where you end up. It does play a role. I mean, you have genetic luck. I didn't choose to have whatever IQ I have. That is a matter of luck. And then you have personality luck. Some of us are resilient, some of us are not resilient. I remember when I was in grade 3, my teacher saying to me in primary school, "You are almost as clever as Geneva." Geneva was my sister who was there the year before. So I felt a little bit like I was an underachiever because obviously she had more potential than me. But she ended up with a teenage pregnancy, not completing high school. No one in my immediate family did. And my younger sister also had a teenage pregnancy, and in her case also a nervous breakdown, so ended up in a mental institution for a while. And then you think to yourself, what distinguishes me from my siblings when you all come from the same background? And it is not just choice, and that's why I really appreciated those of you who were so nuanced in the way in which you talked about choice. It is, Shenia's attitude is beautiful. You are an inspiration to me. But at the same time, it's very hard to think that you can just choose to do well. All the things that I've achieved, I've worked very hard for, but luck plays an important role. So it's very important to be kind and generous towards those people in your school, your community, your family, that are not as hardworking as you, that are not as able to be resilient, that don't have the same personality luck, that are not able to rise above those circumstances. And the older I get, the more sympathetic I am towards those who struggle, towards people who grapple with drug abuse, who grapple with overcoming sexual abuse that you've gone through. I've gone through it myself. I was raped as a kid. So not everyone can defy their circumstances. So I think we must be careful that we are not, this choice thing, that you are not too glib about, if you just choose, if you just motivate yourself, it's hard. So although I'm proud of the things that are on my CV, I am profoundly aware that until our country provides genuine resources and equal opportunities for everyone, we shouldn't be so easy in how we think about choice. So I want you to think about choice. Nevertheless, I also finally would like you to motivate you to really take every opportunity that you can, even if you have limited resources at your school, even if you don't have the best of teachers, even if not all of your teachers are there for all of the teaching time that they're required to be. The three most important things that I participated in primary school and high school and university, and this is only a slight exaggeration. The first is, and again, you will see luck plays a role. If you don't have access to the opportunity, you can't do what I'm about to say. The first was playing the piano. As boys in particular, and I'm sorry we didn't have enough time to get into the gender issues that Sydney so beautifully put on the table for us. But as boys, we have very unhealthy masculinities, behavior. We don't allow ourselves to emote, to grow up emotionally. And playing a musical instrument, if you are ever lucky enough to have that opportunity, is the first thing that I want to encourage you to do. The second activity that I signed on for, and I suspect if you don't come from schools that have this, then many of you are naturally gifted. And maybe next year, June, we can focus on this, Wadey, is to join a debating club. Because if you don't have the ability to express yourself, if you don't have the ability to think analytically and very carefully through an issue, then you will have a harder time competing for limited jobs, for limited bursaries, for limited scholarships if you can't represent yourself well in an interview. I couldn't really speak English at the age of 13 when I went to a Model C school, and I took up debating, not actually to learn debating and public speaking, but I took it up just so I could learn to speak English because my home language is Afrikaans. And then I accidentally enjoyed debating so much that I ended up doing it competitively and traveling the world, going to at least 10 countries to go to world championships. And I honestly think joining a debate club changed my personality. If you can believe it, I was incredibly shy as a kid. My cousin is here, he can testify. I was a very shy kid, and debating really opened up my personality. So if you have a debate club at your school, please, please, please join it. It's an investment you will appreciate at the age of 37, like I do. If you are one of the teachers who were bragging about how amazing you are and you don't have a debate club, why don't you add that to your CV at your school and start a debate club? And then finally, and most important, and this really touched my heart, and I can't decide whether the next time we have youth gathered here, we should focus on debate and debate coaching, or the third thing that I think changed my life, which is reading. Now, the apartheid government is a horrible government that we never want to go back to. One of the weird things they accidentally got right, not because they cared about us as black people, is that in some of our communities, we had mobile libraries, and some of our communities, we had libraries that were well stocked. Not as well stocked as people living in the town, in the white suburbs, but we had it. And I was lucky that my grandparents' house was literally next door to the library. I could just jump over the fence. So whenever there was fighting at my house, my uncle is fighting with my sisters, with my cousins, I could run away and go and read Enid Blyton, The Magic Faraway Tree, The Famous Five, The Secret Seven, The Hardy Boys. And the magic of books is amazing. It doesn't just give you a vocabulary. It improves your imagination. It teaches you how to have empathy for people who are very different to you. Even if you read about weird things like lemonade and you don't know how it tastes because you don't have lemonade at home, please lay your hands on everything that you can in order to read. Because reading is the one thing that you can do to really, really leapfrog your own circumstances. And I really want to encourage you to read, whether it be newspapers, whether it be websites that are favorites of yours on your smartphone, access them, read. Between a musical instrument, between debating, and between reading, my circumstances had no chance of determining my future. So I'd encourage you to do all of those. Thank you.